Hi guys, contained within the spending review statement that Rachel Reeves delivered on Wednesday was a segment about asylum hotels. So she's made a pledge to end the use of asylum hotels by the end of this Parliament, by 2029, moving all asylum seekers out of this type of accommodation and into, for example, rented accommodation, rented houses. So what's the point of this? Why is she doing this, and why is it important? Now, the Conservatives moved a lot of people into hotels because they were not processing asylum claims. People had to be accommodated somewhere. They couldn't be accommodated in the community, so they were congregated in hotels. And we saw what happened last year during the Farage riots, where one such accommodation was attacked, not a hotel, but a different type of accommodation. So it seems to be the approach by the government. Now, this has already begun. The government have already moved some people out of hotels. They're saying about ending the contracts. Some contracts, of course, going to Tory donors. That's going to end. And I think it's a clever approach. It's the right thing to do. These hotels have become flashpoints. It's going to take away support for Nigel Farage and reform because, as we know, Farage has been pointing the finger at the government. Why aren't you closing those hotels? It's a massive cost for the taxpayer. It creates a flashpoint in the communities. So this needs to end. So I think the approach by the government is clever. It's a good idea to close these hotels. There's no advantage to the community. There's no advantage to the asylum seekers. There's no advantage really to the Home Office by keeping them open. It is risky moving people into the community, although it should reduce the likelihood of a flashpoint because people are spread out as opposed to being concentrated. We saw Farage in the past going to these ex-hotels basically to, as some would say, harass people. He would go in with a film crew, ask them questions, put them under pressure. And of course, these are people who are not in control of the situation. They are simply being accommodated there. They're not allowed to work. They're not allowed to move into rented accommodation. They're not allowed to buy their own home, even if they had the money, because they have to stay within this type of accommodation for their claim to be processed. Now, the government moving away from that is clever, but as I said, it carries the risk. There may be some pushback from members of the public. People don't want these asylum seekers in their community. You know, if they're concentrated in one place outside of town or even in the city centre, it's not that much of a problem, but some people are going to obviously complain about them in their area. Reform UK don't actually have a solution to this. They are saying, some of them are saying about putting asylum seekers in camps. So the idea of setting a target is good, but is it achievable? Well, the government have already moved some people out of these hotels. They are ending some of these contracts. So if they're able to process claims, if they're able to increase the number of people processing the claims and the resources available to the Home Office to do so, then of course it will bring the numbers down, the backlog down, and they will not have to rely on hotels or this type of accommodation going forward. So I think from the government's approach, this is a good idea. It should take some of the heat out of this particular topic, which of course has benefited Reform UK in particular, and somewhat the Conservatives. We've seen people like Robert Jenrick go on walkabout. He was probably itching to do a video on such a topic, going into a so-called hotel for asylum seekers and grilling people there, filming, trying to embarrass the government. And of course, it's important to remember that these are not hotels, they're ex-hotels. They cease to be a hotel when somebody has moved into it for asylum processing. So it's a good move by the government. Whether they'll actually achieve their goal or not is going to be very important, because if they fail to do so, then it's an open goal for Farage and certain people within the Conservative Party. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.